All right, I want to talk about a couple things. They're a little bit related, but first I want to talk about the Lucky Strike updates here at the beginning with the release of the Iron Hoof items. Now, the Iron Hoof items are not actually complete still. If you want any of the items, you can go to Ballyhoo, the shop, and then you go over here to the contests. I think it's going to be on the second one here. I think the armor is live, but I've heard that it's bugged as fuck still. I personally didn't go for it. I didn't think it'd be worth it. And it turned out this year's top 50 was even higher than the years past. These people are out of their fucking mind. But I did grab the weapon, the shield, the pet, and the misc. Now, I think the star of the show here is probably the shield, but the weapon and the shield, it might be all of them, I can't remember, but basically the way these work is, here, I'll show you the shield real quick. And a lot of people have already seen this, but this is basically how I use it, and it's a similar way to how I use this guy. And basically the way I do this is I actually moved from spellcaster lean to fully offensive. Let me go back in. I basically run fully offensive. Charges enhance the fully offensive's damage, but what they do with the shield and the armor combo, what I basically do here is just do dual Creature 72. Let's see, yeah, he was back there. And then I'll just charge it, and it'll basically give you 4 charges. It's called Divine Pressure in this particular set's case. And then it builds and builds and builds, right? And then Creature 72s are basically lowering monster damage while I build charges and start getting my MP healing. But essentially what I'll do here, actually I'm going to use a different armor. I forgot this bouncing ass armor. I'll just go this for simplicity's sake. So this guy, basically you have your crit lean, which is, as you can see, still being worked on. So they're working on the back end. It's supposed to be similar to the Frostveil crowns. You have the ferocious one, which is going to half your Lucky Strike rate for twice the damage, and then you have its you can actually go to the item upgrader and change it where it will double your rate, and it's the Crown of Precision. It'll double your rate but half your damage. So all Lucky Strike rate increases will proportionately lower your damage, and it's basically it is Chaotic's idea. So it basically, in my opinion, Lucky Strike stacking, the fun of it has been ruined. I think they think that some of the changes they're implementing are going to continue to make it fun, but it's actually not. It's actually, because nobody likes random number generator shit. That's why they don't like weapons with weapon specials. That's why everyone has basically gone away from it. So people had figured out specific ways to boost your rate and your damage. I agree in the sense that there were specific cases that it was kind of insane, and I actually kind of agree that it probably could have been looked at, but they went overly harsh with this change. So basically, if you were to move from your 10% base and you go up to 50%, you basically have increased your rate by 5 times. You're going to lower your damage by 5 times. So anything that has a crit lean mechanic will be free in the mechanic. So it's kind of like Berserk. in that they could actually add Berserk on anything in the game and it would be for free. Now they could add crit lean to anything in the game now and it could be for free. So it's kind of stupid in that why not just add it to every fucking thing then? You know? I don't really like the idea. I also wonder if this is a specific target for Beastmasters because of Optico and healing pets, and I think that was the actual target with Chaotix game balance issue post. Like with everything, it's really just a target at Beastmasters, no matter how it's worded or what is said in the post. It's just a front, it's gaslighting. So, but basically you can click this and you basically get a permanent luck boost. If you have the pet and I think one or two other items, the weapon or the misc, I can't remember. Let's see. I think you get a larger boost. I think you can get 60 in a turn. But this is permanent. The armor will actually consume this. I don't even know why you would want to consume it. Like Warforged, I mean, I guess it does help other things. I'm guessing I need to look, but there's no info subs. What else is new for the armor? But I think the point here, though, is that that you're going to consume it for some kind of probably like nuke, I guess. I personally would rather keep this, and that's partially why I had decided to not get the armor, because I don't want to lose the luck. I would rather keep it. Now, once luck is capped, this will actually do a barrier. Like you can see, there's actually even an overflow. You don't have to cap and then it starts. It'll actually overflow in that single turn. But I went from 40 to 357. This guy here, once it's capped, with every attack, you'll notice a hypercrit throw on here, 200% damage. Now, hypercrit was changed. It's no longer increasing rate. And everybody told me that it was going to increase rate still. And I think everybody was trying to figure out their own. Like, all the math nerds are like, oh, it has to mean this and it has to mean that. But literally in the dev notes here, it says, hypercritical now just boosts Lucky Strike damage and applies a single plus 3.33% rate modifier. So, I don't know if the plus 3.33 rate modifier is there or not. I don't know if your 10% became 13.33%. I don't really know, but I do know, as you can see, increased Lucky Strike damage. So basically, the luck portion of the damage is at the 200% is doubled with this capped. I believe the weapon, which I don't have equipped right now, if you click it, it'll also get one. And then I think the pet, I'm trying to remember. Let's see. Yeah, I still have the pet. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so yeah, the pet gives you 133 next turn. So I'll do it here, so you'll see it increase. It's now up to 33. So the pet has to take its turn, and then the very next turn, you'll get the 133. And then you get that stack. So it looks like Hypercrit never adds rounds. Actually, you could have crazy like things like if you did all the shield cakes, they would actually They would just stack. So it doesn't increase rate. So you with hyper crit you get the same 10% base rate, and then it just adds to damage. I've actually, and I haven't tried to stack all 4 shield cakes. There's 4 or 5, I think, and like all the Iron Hoof stuff and Time Killer. I haven't even really messed with Time Killer spell, to be honest with you, but like all of that stuff is keeping your 10% rate. It might be 13%. That's going to be such a small difference that you're not going to notice it. Now, as far as, let's see here, as far as the old Optico Usage, that playstyle is basically 80% dead. Now, if this crit lean, just like the crowns, and I just learned this, I always thought that the crowns only affected player lucky strikes. If the crit lean actually just affects the player, then it will be. Now, if it also affects the pet, what I'm holding out hope for, there's going to be some small ways you can go. There's also this bug here, if you notice. So what happens is I'm clicking this here, and then the pet and guess immediately go, but you'll notice that the monster tries to go. If the pet lands its hit before the monster lands its hit, the monster's turn will be basically like a stun. In this case, that monster's, nope, didn't quite get there in time. So it's doing it because it's these guys are taking turns here. I'll show it to you. It only does this in some armors. Soul Neko, it does this. Looks like Armor of Awe does this. See, this is another pack monster, so let's see if the second one ends up getting a shot off. Yep, the first one did because it, oh, yep. So as you notice there, well, looks like we have a bug going on. Please enjoy Corbon's feet. Let's see if I can find a non-pack monster here. Alright, let's see here. We'll go back on Armor and of Awe. Alright, so let's see what happens here. So yeah, if you notice that it's almost like it's a counter or something. So that's one bug with the shield. So a lot of the monsters that basically take their sweet time to attack you, it's a permanent stun. Looks like pack monsters, the other ones will be able to get their attack off. As you can see, this guy will never try to attack me. Now, I wanted to show this bug real quick. So this stack here with Warforged, I believe that there is some similar code with the shields, with all the items that use this charge system. I think they're using it. They're reusing the base code and changing it for these charge systems. I think the Warforged shield and the Dauntless Ironhoof shield share some things. So what I'm going to show you here, so I'm going to switch to Dauntless. And I'm still going to get the MP heal. You see it's still here. So that's another bug. There are some random, like you just saw, some random game freezing bugs. But as you notice, phase is not really lucky striking anymore. You still have that low rate. There's a lucky strike there. Super high though, because Optico is now 333% damage. You get, if you'll notice here, pet lucky strike 333.3%. So if you were to find a way to increase, like let's say you used the weapon here, or you went ahead and used this and used a crit lean on the shield here, then you could give yourself some additional rate, but it will lower that damage. Now, whenever you use, let's see here. Actually, let's go ahead and just go to practice trainer. So now I'm going to do player celerity. So Optico still pretty much works in a similar fashion, where player celerity will double your effect. So now you have hypercritical pet 333, and then if you go again, it'll change to 666.6 or 0.7. So if phase does lucky strike, it's massive. Now, couple of things. If you were to use the Water Bard of War with the Water Bard of War weapon with Optico, that combination does result in around 30-ish, 25 to 30-ish% lucky strike rate. And you do get the heightened lucky strike damage that is still, I think, so assuming that you get ×3 rate. So if you had 33, so what is it, 33 and a third, right? You're still going to get a 111% damage, which is more than it was before. Another thing too, this luck stack, if you use Rubzard Guest, it will actually be a separate stack, so you can actually, it'll basically add together. You can get to 500 luck relatively easy. But because Optico has luck, because this has luck, you could actually use, if you had Soul Neko, but you could use Tribal Shaman, for example. Here, you could maybe find some other ideas like heal resistance. So maybe you can boost your luck. You could use a heal resist shield like Nickelclad. You could wield Oath of Desire weapon, which is another 12.5%. Legionary Guise, you would maybe have to cast Word Flame to get the panic, but you could use Legionary Guise Guest, which will be another like 11%. There are armors that have 12.5%. You could theoretically have a Misk, armor, shield, weapon, and guest. I think that pushes close to 60%, I think. And in those instances, phase starts to hit like in the 600s without lucky striking. So that's still very good and very useful. But the Bard of War armor and the Bard of War Bard of War armor and the Bard of War weapon is basically kind of a good balance. I'm thinking if the lean ends up working on this stuff, like a 30-ish% would be a perfect number. But I wanted to pivot real quick to the other topic. Void Awakening Skulls, I don't know when this happened, but they were changed to be normalized with fire resistance. So before, you had to use Prime Chaos Orb to, like, for example, I would want to try to move that ice or energy up to fire. But now the heal will be normalized. So if you're hitting resistance under 100, it'll increase your heal. And then if you're hitting resistance under or over 100, it'll decrease your heal. But one of the things I wanted to show you that I think is actually a more practical use of Optico, and I've showed it before, is to give yourself player Solarity in a variety of ways: Shadow Feeder Pendant, Chrono Phoenix, the Lovestruck Misc. So you got a second turn, and you get the effect from the Misc there, and then just swap. Maybe you want to do Area's Rattle. And then what you're going to notice, so actually I haven't toggled on the effect here. Let's see. There we go. So I'm actually using this weapon here, which is going to increase my pet and guess damage by 25%. So I want you to look at the guests. So I started at 181. It's going to have a 150 something cost, and it's going to go twice. I'm also going to go ahead and use Warwolf to increase its damage even more. So let's see what I get here. So I gained about 400 MP there. Here, let me get my MP back, and I want to actually show an idea that I've been doing, and you're going to actually see. I'll do this next turn. And I have incorporated Twisted Siphon as a permanent carry. So what I'm going to do is Dark Invader with actually, when I do Dark Invader, I swap to Foam Finger and I go to pet mode only. So here what I do is I use Tropo Shield. And see, I wasn't even using Tropo Shield, which would have enhanced everything. Then I come back over to Area's Rattle and I do it one more time. So let's see. So as you can see, this guy is healing my SP pretty good. And then I'll actually swap over to Void Awakening form. And then I'll do Chrono Phoenix. And then Word Flame. And then the damage will go real high now. I'll basically rinse, repeat. I'll full heal my MP and SP and just kind of whoop the monster there. So I'll do a Solarity with Shadow Feeder Pendant, Dark Invader 2 times, and then swap to Void Awakening, and then do Chrono Phoenix, and then Word Flame. And then basically I'll at the end of that second turn, I'll have a completely full MP bar and SP bar. And now that they've changed Void Awakening Skulls to normalize versus 100% resistance, it no longer matters as long as the fire resistance is not 0 or less. So it could be 1% fire resistance and you'll heal the same now. So I think the idiots that did it thought they were nerfing it, but I think this is actually better. And so as you can see, if you don't want to use the Creature 72 and Phase Wanderer setup with these changes, what I just showed you right there, and you can do similar things with Mosquito and Wind Elemental Vulnerability. So you have dual Mosquitoes and dual Void Awakenings, which is at minimum 4 golden gift boxes and up to 6 if you want both SP and MP versions. The SP and MP versions can be swapped to item upgrader, but they're not available now. We'll probably have to wait till the next crossover event. But I just wanted to share maybe an alternative or two. Like I mentioned, the heal boosting idea with, even Soul Knuckles charges is plus 100%. You have, if you're using player Solarity, you can use Optico the first turn and then use something else the second turn. And then if it lucky strikes, it's just icing on the cake. But I think if they implement the lean with the pets too, and we'll see, but I think that a 30% rate should be about right. If you do Solarity and you get a 30% rate, that's still, so you're getting the 666.7% damage, but that's going to be divided by, let's say that's divided by 5, you're still getting 133%, even at 50% rate. So, which is what the normal Optico was. So there is still some hope for the lean idea once they get that shit implemented. If they go that route, but we can all just cross our fingers. But that's it for this video.